All right, mech commanders, we're jumping in here with some Battletech combined arms. We've been exploring different mechs, light, mediums, heavies, and of course, assaults. Now I want to jump over and start looking at some tanks, looking at ways that vehicles can operate and complement your Tactica, complement your Lance in the Battletech universe. Now, certainly you can play Battletech just mechs. You can play combined arms. You could, and I have, but it's hard, run entire tank lists and infantry lists. And I say hard, not because it's not possible, not because it's not effective, not because it's not fun, but because there's so many amazing toys in Battletech, never enough battle value. I want like 10 mechs, I want like 10 tanks, I want air support, I want artillery, I want infantry, I want vehicles, I want everything. There's just not enough battle value to field it. So jumping in with the Bulldog, I think of the Bulldog as a kind of medium mech equivalent tank on the table. And in exploring that, we're going to look at its role, its weapons loadout, and its battle value. Because one of the general formulas, and I say general because there's always some swing if you're getting into combined arms, and I've pushed up a number of tank Tactica to the Battletech playlist here on my channel, but essentially just for that framework for a moment, tanks cost less in battle value than mech equivalents. They will give you more in terms of weapons/armor, but the trade-off is in the rules, the mobility issues, the fact that you take motive hits and you lose the ability to move. They're easier to become disabled. The crit chart for it's a little bit different. Turrets can lock, things can happen. They tend to go down a lot faster. Now, of course, how you complement that is using terrain, using infantry, and supporting it as a force multiplier. But tanks out in the open could pose a problem to battle mechs. But that said, for the battle value and the weapons, because we're not talking about downgraded tank-type weapons. We're talking if it's mounting a PPC, it's a PPC. The perfect example, an awesome mech multiplying by 3 PPCs. That's a lot of battle value. That's a lot of terror. You take a Shrek PPC carrier, those are 3 PPCs. Same weapons, same bite, but difference in delivery and Tactica. So the Bulldog comes in at about 600 battle value. Of course, that's the first thing we look at. Some of us use C-bill, some of us use tonnage. Battle value is kind of that universal currency. 605, so that puts us in the same kind of band as a lot of medium mechs. So you're looking and saying, well, that's what we're going to compare, whether that's fair or not, because, well, I can get a Bulldog or I can get a medium mech. Mech is a little more effective than a tank, some would say. We want that trade-off. The weapon system for the Bulldog is above average when we compare to most medium mechs. You're mounting a large laser, 2 short-range missile 4-packs, and a machine gun for close-in anti-infantry type work. And infantry vehicles are a little bit more vulnerable to infantry based on the spread of how infantry attack. So there's a chance not necessarily to destroy your tank, but to really cripple it with a motive hit. So having some sort of dedicated anti-infantry is I think it's important, but it's definitely a plus on a tank. So what we see in this weapon system is medium mech value, medium mech or above armor, and weapons that are above a medium mech for that battle value buy-in. Let's start with the large laser. You know, that's a good primary support weapon for a tank. Would I like a PPC? Yes. Could you mount an autocannon 10? Possibly, but the large laser is still solid in terms of range and damage. I don't want to say you're only sacrificing 2 points, but it's solid. It's not like the primary weapon is a medium laser. Then we move into the short-range missile 4-packs. 4-pack is, well, about medium. Would we like 6s? Sure. Do I want 2s? No, not on a tank. But mounting 2 of these means you're going to get a nice spread. So I've got that large laser trying to punch holes. I've got a spread looking for some crit, and then I've got a machine gun to back it up. So you have a tank that has firepower at all ranges. at not super long like LRM type long, but at long range and to close, I've got the large laser. For medium to short, I've got the missiles. And for close, I've got the machine gun. And of course, I've got the ability for all three to operate at that range band. So we have a medium type tank that performs a little bit above, potentially compared to a medium mech. Now, I know we're looking at goblins here. You're like, Fritz, these are goblin tanks. The goblin miniatures, to APC kind of battle tank transport, I've pushed that up to the channel. They look close enough to the Bulldog. So you could kind of go back and forth between them. I'll often sometimes proxy if I'm playing all Bulldogs as opposed to all Goblins. I'll pull in these miniatures. But certainly the Bulldog has its own miniature, and there's a lot of third-party support for it that could work for this tank. Now, Tactica. I don't see this as a frontline battle tank. It's not a Patton. It's not a Rommel. It's not a Demolisher. But it's not the battle value and the same effect for it. This is a great kind of bodyguard tank. If I'm looking to, this is where we're kind of mixing in goblins. Goblins, if I take those with infantry, meaning I'm having kind of a dedicated, well, I got to back or slide over for a moment here. Infantry, without turning this into an infantry vlog, but it's important for the framework leading into the Bulldog. You've got some infantry. What's the delivery system for it? If they're going to hang around defensively, because it's a defensive type mission, that's great. Save the battle value. But infantry, you want to get them up into the action. Now, you can go mechanized, or you can start to put them in some sort of vehicle. Karnov, APC, unarmored or armored, minimum buy-in, or spend a little bit of battle value for a Goblin, which is a fighting vehicle. So the idea is the Goblin is going to ferry up the infantry. They're going to get out. They're going to fight, and the tank is going to support them with its weapons. Bulldog makes a nice complement for that. Bulldog kind of turns two Goblins and two groups of infantry into a mobile defensive force or a force multiplier to actually a pretty good attack force for lower battle value, especially if those tanks can get into a place where the infantry can get out and get cover. And I won't say abuse those rules, but use those rules. Infantry dug in with a Bulldog and some Goblins, that's got some bite. It costs battle value, but it has bite. So I see this tank as a workhorse battle tank, could do offense, could do defense, doesn't go alone. Not that we ever want anything to go alone, but working in tandem with something else. And with that something else, it multiplies the force at it with the large laser, the SRMs, and the machine gun. So should you add this to your collection, it's a solid medium tank. I see it as one of those tanks where you don't know the mission, you don't necessarily know the map, you don't know what you're up against. So do you want to take something novelty or something for the lulls and kind of get caught out in the open? I take an urban mech and I'm playing on a desert map. Well, I always play Urby regardless, but that's a good example there. Bulldog is going to work. It's going to be good on anything. You're going to be okay. Might not excel, but there's not going to be any deficiencies. So I kind of put it up there in having a few in your collection will work and serve you well.